Hey, real estate agents, welcome to the Weekly Closer. I'm your host, Jeff Underwood, along with my co-host, Joey Sampaga. The man with the plan. How you doing today, Joey?
I'm doing good, Jeff. How are you?
Well, you know what? I'm back here in Missouri visiting my family again, and I can't believe it. We had snow this morning,
Really?
which is crazy. We were just at a baseball game yesterday in the mid 60s, and we got snow this morning. It's gone now. I just looked before I jumped on here. It's all melted, but pretty crazy morning here in good old Missouri. So anyway, we have a great guest with us in the house today, or via Zoom, I guess you should say. That's Laura Myers with Keller Williams Arizona Realty. Welcome back, Laura.
Laura.
Hey, great to see you guys again, virtually.
Absolutely. I think Jackie Whitney got you on here again, right? Security title?
Good. Yes. Fabulous.
She's awesome, isn't she?
She is. 100%.
Yeah. Big shout out to our sponsor, Security Title Agency and Fidelity National Home Warranty. If you haven't used them, give them a shot, agents.
That's right.
So Laura, let's it's been a while since you've been on here. And I know that it seems weird to me that time has flown by so fast, even though most of us have been locked down for a while, or at least we had the lockdowns early last year. What have you been doing with yourself this whole past year, I guess, with the changes that we've seen?
I know. It actually, now that I think about it, I really haven't seen you guys since pre-pandemic, and it feels like time has just flown by. And it's something that I guess if I started from that point and move us forward, and where I left us off last time is where business was growing, and what I was looking to do at the last time I was on your podcast was the travel and actually becoming a coach, which we just mentioned about a few minutes ago. So when the pandemic hit, it was almost like, what is the market going to do? And I had been in a downturn previously. So it was like how to behave better in this new downturn that we were anticipating when COVID hit. And obviously it was quite the opposite. However, the number one thing I remembered from the previous experience in going through a market boom and bust was how to stay head down, focused, and continue those activities at a higher level, rather than that fear factor that kind of starts to roll in when you have those uncertainties. Because it's funny, I used to always tell clients, when they're asking me things about the market, I'm like, well, unless we have like a major global event, you're probably pretty safe, XYZ relevant to where the market was. And so now we were facing this global event that I think from a standpoint for all of us at some level of, thinking, we're like, holy smokes, we don't know what we're in for. And this could be a complete crash, which from a real estate standpoint, right? If you're going into a complete crash, how do you grab more market share? It's almost like when stocks drop, right? It's like, how do I grab more market share? And that behavior makes the difference in your success, or, and you're really losing yourself in something that you have a harder time climbing out of. So that was kind of what I did, is remembered from the old history, is stay focused, do more with my time that's related to getting more market share, because we just don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah. So during that time, so what did you do then, I guess? What was one of your major activities that you focused on when the pandemic hit, and then kind of as we've gone through this past year?
Yeah. So when we were all kind of locked down and deciding how much toilet paper we needed to buy, right? It was like, how do I get on the phones and check in with people? And so it was I simplified it, and not something that I thought of on my own, but I'm with Keller Williams and Gary Keller. He's like, if you just make those care calls. And so I just got into a focused process of how do I make sure that everybody's doing okay? Because if I'm kind of scared, confused, and uncertain, but staying focused, how can I call other people and find out if they're scared, confused, unfocused? And what can we do to just say, hi, how are you? And is there anything I can do to help? And so I just started doing that, picking up the phones, staying in my home and connecting.
Yeah. Remind the agents again how long you've been doing real estate now.
So licensed since 2000 and I don't remember actually, 2007 have I been licensed? 2004, sorry, it's getting so long that I've forgotten. So I've been licensed since 2004, in the business since 2000. So I started out as a transaction coordinator, but on the sales side since then.
Got
so
it.
it's been 16 years.
All right. And I remember when you were on the show last time, you talked about your kind of how you've developed this relocation and referral business. And if I remember right, quite a percentage of your business comes from the referral side.
Yes. And so it's interesting now that the pandemic has changed. When I started calling my database, so my database is full of agents I've met and obviously my past clients. And the gift, I want to say, from how COVID caused me to stay home more, where I was used to traveling, meeting people across the country and networking face to face, I actually built more business in 2020 with my past clients. And I would say gone into a 50-50 bend where previously agent to agent referral business tended to be like 80% of what I closed. And now it's more 50-50. However, what's happened is my relationships with my past clients have actually been strengthened. And that's actually where maybe a lot of agents, sometimes you're so busy that you're staying in front of what's active. But when the world shuts down, in that essence, you stay in front of what's inactive with those care calls. It ended up being folks that really didn't know what was going on and staying on top of how the market was moving as we saw Wall Street crash and the market started to shift. And then we just started to see the impact of how inventory started to shrink and the demand of folks saying, hey, if I can work from home, I can work in a more affordable state. That helped me pick up that phone to, all right, where are people going to move from? Where are the most expensive cities that if people could work from home, they could really afford Arizona, which right now tends to be in hindsight where, you know, California's always been one. We've seen a lot of Washington. We've always had cold weather states. However, it was like really who's going to pick up and be able to move, work remotely. And we've seen a ton of that really start to play a big role on how our current market is today.
So you went through the process of trying to figure out where people made good money, but also the types of jobs that could be remote. Is that right?
Yeah, because like there's one particular stat, right, where Arizona is pretty much, when you look at affordability, right, you know, 65% of the population find our market affordable. In San Francisco, for example, that number was only at 19%. So if somebody was able to sell in the Northern California area and then have that equity, they could almost come here and be a cash buyer. So at the beginning of that, it's like, all right, I was born and raised in California. So I kind of just use that as how can I get in touch with more folks that may have clients in California that would consider Arizona a destination for relocation. So started making some connections there and continue to do that. And it's been quite interesting because literally folks are doing exactly that, able to sell their cracker box house for, you know, $2 million and come out here and get something a lot more affordable and just pay cash.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're making connections with other real estate professionals.
Exactly. And some fear of where I grew up too.
Got it. So what does that look like? So if you decide, or if any agent out there starts to look at different areas that might be thinking about moving here, did you just pick up the phone, email? What did you do as far as trying to reach out to agents? Were these agents that you already knew, or did you try to make new contacts with, within the Keller Williams family or other brokers, or what?
Yeah, so some of the elements would be this. It's like, okay, let me go online and just do a quick Zillow search. What agents in San Francisco, for example, actually show up? And then there's phone numbers, there's names. I can sometimes see production. And it doesn't necessarily mean that those who produce are the only ones I want to be in communication with. I just wanted to start making calls and say, who's your sphere? What's your business like? And did you realize what the Arizona market's doing and that you might have in your database folks that could be considering the move? And can I share a few properties of what that might look like that could be affordable that you could send to your database and see who rings the phone? And then if their phone's ringing and then they have that opportunity and somebody's ready to buy or sell here in Arizona, and in this case, it would be more of the move, so they'd be buying here, give me a call. Let's make sure that you've got that resource on the ready once your phone rings. So I helped that agent help their phone ring.
Oh, that's great. That's seems like a very simple way, right, to make those connections. But I think that it's the willingness to pick up the phone and try to reach out to a complete stranger, really, right? And I think that's something a lot of people struggle with is, oh no, I don't know this person. I don't know if I want to call this person. So.
Gosh, that's a great point. I think sometimes I have more call aversion on people I know, which is weird. I'm much more apt to call somebody I don't know because coming from contribution, I always feel like I've helped somebody, but then when they're helped, they may not want to be bugged. So when I've already helped them, they become my database. I've already known them, but then I'm like, I don't want to bug them. But somebody that I haven't met before, I might be like, well, I can help them. They don't know that they might need help, but here's what I offer. And so that's kind of my weird aspect. And I don't know if other people relate to that. However, with COVID, when I talked about calling my database again, was like, well, I care about my people. And now we've gone into something global. It's much easier to say, how are you? Are you doing okay? Because I'm not bugging you then. I'm coming from heart and contribution.
Yeah.
So that's more important for me. That's what helps me. That's what makes me act, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm out here in Missouri right now visiting family, and I've spoken to a couple different real estate agents around the Joplin, Springfield, kind of the Springfield, Branson area, and they're saying the same things right now. Is that quite a large percentage of the buyers in that area are coming from both coasts, from the East Coast and the West Coast, coming into the middle of the country, and a big part of it is obviously, like you said, they're selling their houses on the coasts, coming to a place like the Midwest, for example. I mean, you're essentially buying, I don't know, 25 acres with a awesome house on it, for half of what they sold their other house for,
Yeah,
practically.
incredible.
So,
Yeah,
and part of it's because of the work from home. Absolutely.
exactly. Yeah, and when people get that opportunity, like more folks have said, I didn't realize the value of just being home and cooking a meal with my family versus running around getting the kids to events, being in traffic. It opened up so much more time and value to the individual to determine what actually is home. And I think that's really been a creative, I'm going to use the gift word again around COVID, is where there's been so much trouble and things to work through for all of us. There's other gifts on that silver lining side of it that if we are receptive to it, to realize, yeah, there's other elements that have really been positives. And I
Yeah.
tend to I've always looked for that, like, where's the silver lining? How can I stay there? Because things are always going to be negative in our lives. It's just more simply, how can you focus on letting that be an observance of what's happening to you, but you're not absorbing it in a way that causes you to enact.
Yeah. Yeah. So with the market the way it is right now, which is extremely crazy, I guess is the best word. That's what I keep hearing from agents as I talk to them. What are you doing because I'm sure a lot of people are fearful or getting desperate, some of them probably, right? Buyers. What are you seeing out there, or what are you doing to try to help calm them down, or to help them figure out what really is the best option right now with the market the way it is?
Yeah. I have become super crystal clear and very direct about how the market from a statistical standpoint is behaving. So my approach has been, if I can teach you how the market's behaving, how to perform in it, and see if you can, and I'm going to use the phrase another client gave me, take that hard pill to swallow, then you're prepared for this market. So ultimately, if I'm telling you, here's what you need to know as a buyer to be the top number one pick for a seller in today's market, are you ready to do that? If they're able to ask all the questions and go through all the fears and have that in our upfront consultation, then they become a buyer that we're ready to put in the car and compete for properties. Other folks who are very cautious, unable, then we have to have a secondary plan for them that says, you're probably not able to compete in a market like this unless we do this. So then those are specific to that particular client's needs. So if they're like, and I'm going to I've got a buyer right now, we've got VA, no additional cash, where folks are doing, appraisal gaps and bringing cash differences in, then he has to look at maybe a different product that could be available that's not going to be as competitive. So that conversation is kind of how we guide folks, where you're going to be most competitive and competing against multiple folks, or a property that may not be as competitive, but conditions still have to be met. How is your tolerance? And it's just like if you're going to invest in stocks, right? What's your risk factor? How prepared are you to take this risk? And if they're not prepared, then we're also saying, this isn't the market for you right now. What are your additional thoughts and plans around that? And then sometimes they'll come up with new creative ways. If they have to go borrow money, if they have to go figure it out, and they're that motivated, they are educated, informed, and then they can be best prepared. So I'm very direct, very crystal clear about how to be that person so that they can make that informed decision.
No, that's great. Yeah, and I've had some clients, I know Joey has too, where it just seems like if you don't have at least 25,000 cash extra on top with some of these areas, there's no reason to even put in.
Yeah,
I had one that we lost that was still almost 60,000 over. it's, so you're right. I kind of feel bad, for that first time buyer, small family that's just wanting to get their first place. It just seems like it's almost impossible feat, depending on where they're looking, I guess. But
Yeah. Well, the one, I have one example. They just closed the call right before you and I started. She is a first-time home buyer looking in the Gilbert area that everybody's in that 300 to 400 price point. And ultimately she lost about 8 deals. One, she actually was in contract and canceled very early on for a reason that she may have regretted now. However, her price point had to move forward or her house had to get smaller. So those differences now she's finally, we went through October to now for her to actually have a house to sell. So the extra work from a realtor standpoint is working with the motivated. Because she was extremely motivated, it continued to make sense to keep her going. And then it's the others that are like, well, if the right house shows up, I want to keep looking. That might be the folks that you need to say this isn't the right market for you, because they have to be motivated as well. You can never be more motivated than your clients.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now you also have, and I wanted you to share a little bit about an additional business that you've kind of started, right?
Yep.
So why don't you give us all an idea of what that is and how you're enjoying that and kind of how that might intertwine with some of your real estate stuff too.
Yeah, thank you. So I think from one our other podcasts, like my life by design has always been, how can I travel? I love traveling. And where can I do this where I could work and it doesn't matter what time zone I'm in? So prior to COVID, I was on that trajectory of like how to build other business so that no matter where I'm at in the world, I'm working with who I want, where I want, no matter what time it is. So one of the elements of feedback I've had over my entire lifetime is just based on some of the conversations I've had with folks. They've always said you should be a coach. Well, my very last travel trip in February of 2019, or was that 2020? I don't even know what year we're in right now because of COVID. So February 2020, had a great conversation, a connection with a coaching company. They onboarded me as their coach, and the specific reason why they were a great match for me because they do the holistic business and life process. So I've always been, how do you live your life by design, even when you're as successful as you are as a business owner or an entrepreneur or just wherever you are in your career? We often strive very heavily to stay focused on our success based on business and then kind of reach a pinnacle at some point in time of great success. However, we're not fulfilled. We've missed maybe an element of certain happiness levels, joy levels. And so from a coaching standpoint, we bring that together for the person to say, even as successful as you are right now, there's the folks that come to us, there's that little tug that says, just I'm not, fulfilled maybe in my personal health or my self-care, or maybe my relationships with my children or my significant other isn't where it is because I've been so busy working. I haven't been able to fulfill myself in those other reasons why I've worked so hard to get to this point. So we unplug, unleash, and kind of unfold all those additional elements to help you bring together a fulfilled life.
That sounds pretty cool.
You ready?
Yeah. So where was the trip in February that you kind of connected with this group?
Was our family reunion, Keller Williams family reunion.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so it was another gal. She was starting up the company, and so we are barely just moved into, I guess, our first year. We've just come past our first year. We've added a book of great coaches that kind of different aspects. So what I just explained is really my wheelhouse, and then there's other aspects too that will holistically take the strategies. Maybe your business hasn't reached a certain level and you really need some tactical or strategic sides of processing. So there's different elements of opportunity with different coaches, but that conversation led to us talking about what her plans and goals were. And then we were just well connected between continuing our conversation, which just added me into her roster in November of last year. So I've just begun building client base. And so it's really fantastic. So
that's good.
As soon as that continues to grow, and I've been balancing my calendar of real estate business and then coaching clients, I actually may be traveling to Greece at the end of May. So it's like, yay.
I was going to ask you where is the next trip? I mean, so is the hope that you could get to a point where, because I think last time you talked to us, you were planning out a really long trip, weren't you?
Yeah.
So like a full year or something like that?
It was. So October 2021, which, maybe now a little delayed. I was supposed to be leaving for an entire year. With COVID, that's a little bit different now. I don't have that as my exact date right now. However, I have a personal coach too. She's been pushing me in the right direction. And the other aspect in where coaching is coming on is the other investment strategies and buying real estate that's allowing me to then lead to the passive income. So how you get different legs of financial success to lead into bringing on the right people to build the boots on the ground while I'm away. So it's going to be, we don't have a new date. So she still says I could do it October 2021, but if I'm honest, I'm under-prepared, although it's very possible that I could be taking off. She wanted to meet me in June of 2022 at Kilimanjaro to hike. So I will say this, it's a 50-50 plan on October 2021. I believe it's postponed, but stay tuned.
Got it. Kilimanjaro, is that Kenya or Tanzania?
You know, it's her plan. I told her, just to answer that question, I'm not going because that was her goal, right? She's like, this is where I'm meeting somebody else who that's their vision. I looked at it and said, I am not going to do that because that's not been on my plan. So that's the other element, is make sure you're following your own plan, not somebody else's, even though it sounds really exciting. I was pleased to hear the invitation, but it's not my fit. So I have to make sure I follow what I'm passionate about.
Got it.
So Laura, I'm just curious, who are your coaching clients? Are they from the real estate business, or are they just from anywhere?
Yeah, so I would say I've got 5 clients on the roster right now. Every single one of them are in real estate currently. There have been a few folks that we talked that are in administrative roles. I've got one party that was prior to enrolling here that's actually out of the country, who is leaving their job and building their own business. So now they're 10 plus employees strong. They've actually added extra legs to they're a software company, so to speak, working in the steel industry. So completely outside of the real estate business. So it does not have to be real estate related. It's more where you are right now, and you just haven't found a way to balance out how to continue to stay strong in business, but make sure that you're fulfilled in the side of why you're doing this work. We sometimes get really buried in the tasks, activities, and the accolades of building our business up. But then we look around and go, wait a minute, everything else is suffering.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't matter what business you're in.
I know you've been to some of, when we used to have classes, I know you've been to some of our classes where we talk about building your niche and things, right? And this might be a byproduct of what you're doing, but with holistic coaching, my thought, what automatically comes to mind for me is that could essentially lead to also more business in real estate just because of the connections you're making with people, like-minded people, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and actually it's already happened. I've had a few folks reach out that have a need, and so it's already started.
I figured that.
Good
All right. That's great. So Greece maybe in, you said May?
May 31st is already the date. It seems like it's all open. I was 50-50 excited. Now I'm 70-30 excited that it's actually going to happen. So it'll be 2 weeks. I think it's May 31st to like June 14th.
All right. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, and it was canceled. So that was, or I should say, during COVID, it was previously 2020, and they just postponed it. And so now it seems like they're open, ready for travel, and it's kind of like, I'm super excited, although cautiously optimistic.
Yeah. Well, if any agents that are listening or watching would like to reach out to you, whether it's on the real estate side to make a connection or to find out more about the coaching, you want to share number or website, or how would they reach out to you?
Yeah, actually a great phone number would be great, 480-420-4735. That would be a direct to me. And then you can email me at my Laura Myers Realtor at gmail.com.
Easy enough. Anything else you want to share with the agents about either the holistic coaching or real estate before we move to the next segment?
Yeah, I would just say if anybody out there is listening and they're kind of sitting there contemplating, hey, I'm kind of at a plateau and I really want to talk further about a opportunity to, get past that plateau. We are doing 15-minute. You can get a free consult just to see if it's a good fit for you to start coaching, or just reach out for a brief moment so that you can see if there's anything I can help you with.
Love it.
That's
That's
cool.
awesome. Well, it sounds like you're really passionate about that, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, it's super exciting. I guess I can't contain myself.
Yeah. Pretty soon you'll be doing some retreat to Belize or something.
I like the way you think. Let me write that down. Belize. Retreat. Would you like to be on the
Jeff
list?
up with that right
There
away.
you go. That's on my wife and I's list to definitely go to Belize someday, for sure.
That's what I was going to say. Last time we were on podcast, you mentioned that.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a plan or a trip planned around the same time as you do. We're leaving the end of May, coming back over here to Missouri, so it's not quite as exciting as Greece. But then we do have a plan to go to Isla Mujeres, which is the little island off the coast of Cancun that we went to for our 25th anniversary. We only spent a day there, but we're going to go back for a lot longer just to go. It's just a little island. It's about a half a mile wide by 8 miles long or something like that. So you just rent a golf cart so that you can just drive the golf cart around. But we're looking forward to that. Getting back to the beach.
Away. Yeah, 100%. That's the best place.
Absolutely. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get into the ring. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right. So what do you think the reason is that many agents are not successful in their business?
Stuck in their heads.
Hmm.
Yeah. Thinking kills the warrior. You got to get out of your head.
Absolutely. How about a book recommendation?
I'm actually in the middle of one right now. I was like, oh no, what's the name of it? Let me look at my Audible. I'm an Audible girl, and I'm going through the investments strategies and revisiting. So it's Don't Retire Broke is one I'm in the middle of. And I just read Good Authority, which is a fantastic one on leadership. So if you're running self-leading yourself, or if you have anybody in your group from an employee standpoint or a team standpoint, that is an awesome book too.
All right. And I don't know if you watch TV or not, but this is one question we have been asking some of our agents or guests that have been on is if you had a favorite Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu series back when everybody was locked down.
Oh, no, I don't have anything. I can't even think of anything. I feel like I watched something somebody recommended, but I couldn't even tell you the title because it's in and out. Like I do it mindlessly.
All right. You know, we're probably going to take that question out anyway at this point, just because it seems like all the agents that are successful, that are actually busy.
They don't have an answer.
They don't have. Yeah.
Maybe that's the answer.
There we go. No TV.
Right.
Don't watch TV.
Right.
So where is one place anywhere in the world that you definitely want to visit someday?
The entire country of Europe. Like I have no specific, the way I travel is this: I start somewhere and then I just go with where the energy pulls me, because I've met so many people that way that are locals that just tell me where to go next. So even when I'm going for a year, I only have a few slight places that are like, let me pop in here because I know somebody and see where the world and the universe takes me.
Oh, that's great. That is great. Well, thank you so much for being on here.
Thank you guys. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, we always love to visit with you. It's a good time.
Yes, every time. So
looking for, are you going to, when you,
it'll be in person.
Yeah. Next time we will. I think that we've got a live one next week, I think, Joey?
Yeah, finally. It's so tough to do Zoom. I prefer in person. So
yes.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I really appreciate the time and the opportunity, and hopefully somebody got some benefit out of what they heard today.
Absolutely. Hey, are you gonna be posting your journey, like once you finally, like you're gonna be blogging about it? It's gonna be mostly on Facebook. What are you gonna be doing with that?
Yeah, well, I wish I could tell you I'm I'm going to call myself anti-social social media person, because it's not a habit for me. However, I've been looking about how to make sure I do a proper blog and take everybody on the journey with me. So that's kind of the current element. I should start practicing that on my trip to Greece, because I think it's going to be a fantastic trip. And I want to include everybody so that they could see from how to, I mean, if I were to go back my whole history and be where I am today and know where I have the opportunity to go, anybody can do what I'm doing. So if they're just like, how, I would love to just take them on that journey just so they can feel that the energy of where they can take themselves is possible.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I could see you having a website for your coaching and have you share your travel journeys in your coaching website.
I like the way you're thinking. Jeff, you're just going all these dropping nuggets.
Well, that's what I'm here for.
I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, if you have any questions on that later, let me know before you take off.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Laura, for being on here.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Good
Been
to
a
see you
blast.
both.
See you later.
All right. You take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.